What's up, guys? I'm in Denton, Texas today, bringing you another episode of In the Trenches. Today we're going to be talking about AeroBarrier. If you don't know, you're about to know. Let's freaking go.
Hi, I'm Sean Harris with IAQ Texas, and we are in Denton, Texas, AeroBarriering a multifamily apartment complex.
What's up, guys? We're sitting down with Sean Harris of IAQ Indoor Air Quality of Texas. Sean, what exactly are we doing here today?
Today we're sealing up some apartment units, and mainly this is so that the builder can meet code compliance for these apartments.
When you talk about sealing a building, like how do you seal a building? I mean, you have sheetrock, you have paint, you have tar paper, Tyvek, right? All this stuff.
Yeah.
Is that not adequate for sealing?
So when we're sealing an enclosure, we want to get to the primary air barrier, and in this particular case it is the sheetrock. And for this builder, each individual unit needs to be sealed down to what's called an ACH. So 3 ACH is what they're trying to achieve. And so ACH 50 is the air changes per hour at 50 Pascal test pressure. And so they're going to be tested after this, or a percentage of these units are going to be tested. And they've found in the past that they haven't made that metric, and that's why we're here, is to help them get to that standard.
And this is meeting code for efficiency purposes.
Correct, yeah. So the energy code, the energy portion of the building code is what requires this. And so again, air changes per hour at 50 pascals, that's the amount of times that the volume of air inside the home changes with the outside air when we have a fan that's pressurizing it to that 50 pascal pressure difference. And 50 pascals is just a fraction of an inch of water column, so it's not a huge pressure difference.
Okay, so very similar to measuring static pressure. That's kind of how you're sealing the building up.
Exactly.
Tell us about your background. Like, I know you came from AeroSeal into AeroBarrier, which is what we're doing here today. But let's talk about where you were before AeroSeal. So how did you get into all of this stuff?
Definitely. So started out, helped build a couple of houses, and this is while I was going to college. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. I'm just going to build some houses. That's what I'm going to do when I graduate. And when it came time to actually start building the house, I realized that all I really knew how to do was managing subs. And in my opinion, that's not mastering your craft if you're just managing the subs that come in to build your house for you. I really wanted to know how the home was actually supposed to go together. And I went back to one of my mentors that was very influential with me when we were building these houses together. And I was like, hey, how do you do this? And he's like, funny you should ask. There's this thing called building science. And building science is the study of the interrelated systems that make up a home. And essentially, all of these different systems in a home are all very, very well connected. Your water heater is connected to your wall assembly, to the ductwork. The HVAC system plays a tremendous role in building science and how the pressure differences and all of that happen in a home. So it's really important to understand those things if we're going to be building houses, or if we're going to be installing HVAC systems. I think that both, it's really important to understand some of the fundamentals of building science.
Well, coming from an HVAC background, when I first started getting into building performance, my mindset was always like, sealing stuff is great, but we don't want to seal it too tight. A lot of guys in our industry today, and HVAC in general, share the same opinion, right? Well, my personal opinion has changed over the years, where I think we should seal it tight and use mechanical means to pull air in and out of the building on our own terms, versus letting whatever happens, right? So enlighten us a little bit about that.
Definitely. So tighter is ultimately better, and I've learned this through experience. So once I decided to go back to building science and figure out how homes work, I started testing a lot of homes. And I would do duct leakage testing, I would do enclosure leakage testing, I'd do airflow testing, static pressure testing on duct systems that are mostly undersized. I would do all of this testing, and it would come back to comfort issues. It would come back to energy efficiency issues. It would come back to indoor air quality mainly. Lots of mold inside things when we're not in control of what's happening. And so through all of that experience, it's led me to be more and more passionate about indoor air quality specifically and how we can optimize indoor air quality using building science principles. And so that's why we need things to be tight, is because we want to be in control of where our airflow comes from. So if we just have random leaks in the enclosure, you know, the saying is the home needs to breathe. And unfortunately, the home doesn't need to breathe. People need to breathe inside the home. The home needs to be able to dry. And the more we can facilitate drying, the longer that home's going to last, the more comfortable we're going to be on the inside, the more efficient it's going to be. And so we want a lot of drying to happen. And in a humid climate, any leakage that comes through is actually going to increase the wetting. It's going to make things more wet when we have a lot of enclosure leakage. So it's a problem from that perspective, but also it's a problem from, you know, houses need to breathe. Well, okay, does that mean that we're going to be relying upon the wind to push through these openings? So the building science principle is about pressure differentials. Not only do you need a pathway for the air to move through, you also need a pressure difference on either side for the airflow to move through. So just because you have a leaky home doesn't mean that the air is actually leaking in the way you want it. And furthermore, why would we want our air coming in through some dirty fiberglass, you know, insulation, cockroach infested wall? Why don't we have measured openings like our mouth and nose, for example, on a home, where we're actually providing the measured amount of ventilation that gets filtered and gets dehumidified as it's being brought into the home?
So fiberglass filled air is not good for us?
Unfortunately, no. Yeah. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I mean, we deal with that a lot, right? With a ductwork in an attic that's not sealed. You got a return duct literally just sucking in hot, humid attic air, full of fiberglass and pollen. And here in Central Texas, like your black car turns yellow in pollen season, right? And you know, it's right next to a pile of rat crap in the attic space, right? And all that stuff's just being sucked into the, you know, and you're inside your home thinking this is my safe place, right? Exactly. And really, it's what's in your home that's killing you, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, so this is an interesting concept, sealing the structure with an aerosol.
So for those of you who don't know what AeroBarrier is, it is an automated sealing process. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with AeroSeal for duct systems, but similar concept here, slightly different material, where we're going to pressurize the enclosure and then introduce a sealant into the air that is going to then find the leaks. Basically, the leak is what's drawing the sealant towards those leaks. And then it's sort of like blood clotting or fix a flat for your car tire. It's going to automatically seal up the enclosure while it's under pressure. At the same time as that, we're measuring the amount of leakage so that we know whether or not we've achieved our goals and how leaky it is in the first place, that sort of thing. But it's really important to understand that where we're standing right now, this is a part of the duct system, right? This is the mixing box or the return plenum. This is where the air comes from to then go through the rest of the duct system. But leakage in the enclosure really matters from a humidity perspective, from an indoor air quality perspective, from an efficiency perspective. And so we need to make sure that these things are sealed tight, just like your ductwork needs to be sealed tight, so that we're in control over what's happening in the enclosure. And then we can ventilate appropriately once we've got a tight box around us. So basically, this is an apartment that we're sealing just after sheetrock, which means that the sheetrock is the primary air barrier for this unit. Sealing this up is going to help with all sorts of things: sound transmission through the walls from unit to unit, comfort issues, odors going from one unit to the other. So we want to compartmentalize these units so that they are their own thing, and we're going to be, increasing occupancy rates as far as their duration that they stay here, because they're going to be more comfortable in these environments where they're more isolated from their neighbors. The problem here with the sheetrock being the primary air barrier is that there are exponentially more linear inches of leakage than if we were to have an exterior air barrier. In humid climates, exterior barriers are the way to go, and in this case, because we are just unit to unit, we have to use the sheetrock, which means that everywhere where there's a hole in the sheetrock, like this electrical outlet, for example, there's some knockouts in the back here that are leaking into this wall cavity. This wall cavity goes up into this ceiling plane. The ceiling plane is connected to the unit above us or the attic or whatever is up there. So we want to stop the connection to these interstitial pathways that lead to other places that are, not in our control. And this is really funny. So this is the area where the thermostat is going to go, and huge hole, and it's actually made and framed to be a huge hole into the wall cavity, and you can feel the air coming out. Currently we're on the 3rd floor, so there's some stack effect happening, and air is coming out of this hole from the units below. So again, air sealing, super important, and it's sort of, the additional duct that you're not really thinking about. So these are the nozzles we use to atomize the sealant. Basically, we use compressed air and a pump to pump the sealant through up into this nozzle here, and then the sealant gets atomized. So we turn a liquid into an aerosol, and through this pumping system, this is how that works.
My name is Ian Harris. I'm Sean Harris's dad and business partner. And we started AeroSeal back in 2011. And then as soon as AeroBarrier came out, we grabbed a hold of that equipment as well. I love the product. One of the best things about AeroSeal or AeroBarrier, I would say, that we've discovered is that it will find all of the major big issues that a builder would not find. And we can identify where those problems are, even though AeroSeal may not be able to fix that particular problem. Because we found it, we can then cut sheetrock, get in there, attach that duct, whatever it might be. In an AeroBarrier perspective, the other day we were on a big job where there was a lot of negative pressure in the house, forcing the ISO board in the crawl space to raise up and leak around these pylons. Who would have thought that there would be air leakage around these pylons? But we figured it out because we couldn't seal it. We went through a whole bunch of sealant, and it certainly discovered the big issue before construction could carry on. And we got it, and that was the key piece of it.
Here we are, day 2, and I think we've sealed, a handful of units since I've been here. How many have we sealed?
Yeah, so we typically get about 10 a day. So
10 a day. And how big is this property that you guys have been working on?
Yeah, there's 240 units here, so quite large, and we're almost done with this project, and we'll be moving on to another project soon.
So multifamily properties is really kind of like the hot ticket, if you will, for this particular product.
Yeah, so it can be used in all sorts of applications. Thank you for bringing that up. We mainly focus on high-end custom homes. Those are the people that have the budget. Those are the people who have the clients that care about indoor air quality. Air sealing isn't just a code compliance thing, and that's also something I really want to get across here, is that indoor air quality is very much related to this. You think about the wildfire smoke out in California, you think about heat and humidity down in the hot, humid South, you think about all sorts of different ways where having a tighter enclosure is ultimately going to be better and provide better comfort, better efficiency, and better indoor air quality. So ultimately better health for the occupants. But my passion and where we focus mainly is on custom homes. But this is used all over the country in tract homes. It's used all over the country in multifamily like this. Multifamily really helps with compartmentalization, which is going to stop sound transmission up in higher pitches anyway, happens through the air. And then also odors, your neighbor next door cooking some.
Well, that's interesting. You say that. One of the things that I noticed was sealing one unit here, and then the unit next door is getting fogged out, right?
Yeah,
so obviously
exactly.
there's a connection someplace in between there, right?
Exactly.
If you have a tenant in this unit that gets sick, it's obviously bleeding over into the next space, right?
Correct.
Or cooking bacon or whatever, right?
Exactly. Also, this is only a fraction of what I actually do. So we do commercial, multifamily AeroBarrier. We also do residential AeroBarrier. We do residential AeroSeal. We do commercial AeroSeal duct sealing, which has been really, really great lately. We fixed a lot of interesting problems commercially. I'll have to have you out on one of those jobs soon.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out. So being day 2, we're wrapping up kind of this building of units here.
Yeah.
How do you feel like it's gone over the last day and a half, 2 days?
Yeah, I feel like it's gone really smooth. I mean, once you do 200 of these, you get really good at what you're doing, which is
pretty proficient.
Good. Exactly. This was my first chance to be able to test the final unit to see actually how we are doing. Up until this point, I haven't really been finished out yet. So we're almost done with the project, but I still don't have a reference for how good we're doing. And as of now, I feel like we're hitting our marks. We are where we need to be. We're getting.
Well, you can only do, like yesterday, we went to test one of the units at that had already been done, and the unit was finished out, the flooring, the paint, all this other stuff, right? As we start to look at this, there's only so much that you can control.
Exactly.
Like, you can control your aspect of work when you're doing it, right? But after the fact, like, we noticed there was a gaping hole behind the thermostat. The guys who put the thermostat on didn't bother to plug up that hole. And so obviously your product didn't seal that, because we're relying on another trade to be able to do that, right?
Exactly.
And then where you guys put some sealing down, some of that was removed. And so again, we're relying on other trades to educate themselves and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't peel this off of here, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
And that's another thing, that on higher end homes, the builder comes out and says, no, this is our game plan. These are our goals. You're not going to make any holes without my consent, basically. And when you do make them, you're going to seal them this way. And some of that in sort of more tract home or multifamily doesn't really happen. You know, the trades just are going to do what they're going to do, and that's why we're sealing down so tight at first, so that we can get them to where they need to be in the end.
Got it. So if anybody wanted more information on this particular product, how would they go about doing that?
Multiple ways. So AeroBarrier specifically is made by a company called AeroSeal. AeroSeal.com, I think, is sort of their thing. And so you can definitely get more information from that site, sort of nationwide. There's a dealer locator on there. So if you're interested in having your house sealed, or you're interested in getting AeroSealed or something like that, that would be the website to go to specifically.
And if somebody wanted to reach out to you for either consulting or just asking general questions, how would they do that?
Definitely. Best and easiest way would be like email. We have a website, IAQTexas.com. So Sean at IAQTexas.com would be the best way. My number's on there. I'm on Instagram quite a bit. So social media would be good as well.
Okay. So. IAQ Texas on Instagram.
Yes.
Got it. Well, man, I really appreciate you letting me hang out for a couple days, and I hope you had a good time. I had a good time.
Awesome.
So, and I learned a ton. So, as always, want to hang out with you. So, I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
Cool.
All right. We'll see you guys.